Hi guys, this is one of the last few videos of my guidebook, and it's going to primarily focus on the team success. I think I'd like to end on a positive note and talk about how to make sure your team stays successful, and it's pretty much just going to sum up what we've talked about. But this particular video is going to focus on communication and creativity, how to foster the right environment so that your team can be creative and successful in the long run. The main concept that I'm going to focus on right now, because I think it's incredibly crucial to the team, is something that I hit on earlier in one of the other videos, and it's going to be team dynamics and team culture. So when you're actually thinking about how you want your team to look and how you want your team to be developed, you've got to have an idea in mind, right? So make sure you're setting up the atmosphere for the team with that in mind. What are the goals at hand? What are your guys' objectives? But how do you want your team to be able to achieve that? When you have the opportunity as a manager to step up and be in that role, you have that positional power, which is what we mentioned earlier on. But you also have that personal power. So now you've gotten that opportunity to lead a group of people into an area, into a realm, into a new task and a new objective that they haven't been in before. And it's a beautiful opportunity to be able to do something different. So how do you envision that environment? So set up your team dynamics to be successful, and set it up to be how you envision it to be and how they want it to be and how they need it to be successful. So create that environment. One of the things to keep in mind is that size matters, which is what we talked about before. Jeff Bezos, which is the CEO of Amazon, I got to study him a lot this semester because it was one of our projects. And he had the 2 pizza rule, which I referred to before, but I'll remind you guys now. And it basically states that your team or your team meetings should not have more people there than what 2 pizzas can feed. And I think this is a great way to remember that you don't want your meetings to be so large that people can't contribute. The MBTI types that I first mentioned, and I mentioned it first for a reason, because I think it's very crucial to understand yourself, and I think it's very crucial to understand that other people are very different from you. There's 16 different personality types, and there can potentially be a ton more, but basically off that type, there's 16. So we're looking at a lot of very different people out there, and just because you may be an extroverted type, it doesn't mean that there's extroverted types all around you. Some people might be too quiet to speak up in big groups. So you want to create and foster an environment that each one of your team members will bring their strengths to the team, to the table. And if you do that, then you'll actually be able to create an environment that fosters the maximum capacity for that team. You want that team to be creative. So remember that when you're doing that team culture design and team creativity. So remember that rule, because it will allow for everyone to feel a part of the team. So I like that one. And the other thing to remember, which I kind of talked about before, we've talked about the team development, we talked about team formation, the team storming. We didn't talk much about the team norming stage of the Tuckman model. That's basically when the team just kind of goes along through their stages and is doing what they're told and follows their roles. So I like that one. But is also to pay attention to whether or not there's different things going on. So this kind of goes back to the storming, but sometimes you get little divisions and things within the team, and what they call fault lines. Groton, I'm not sure how to say it, had a really good article, and I'll refer to it down below in one of the links below. And it actually talked about how to bridge those gaps. Yeah, so I think that's important as a leader in order for your team to be successful, to identify whether or not there are fault lines developing within a team, and if there are, to address those early. Because that can affect your team culture and it can affect your team dynamics if you're starting to see division in the team. So be observant and pay attention and take care of that dynamic and take care of that culture that you've created together. But team success is so important. You want your team to be able to get to that performance stage of the Tuckman model. So the performance stage of the Tuckman model is when everybody's on the same page. Everybody's passionate about where they're headed. Everybody's on board. And the team's actually succeeding. You guys are doing well. You guys are operating well together, hitting your goals, meeting your objectives, and everybody's enjoying it. So I love that stage. I think everybody wants to achieve that stage, but it takes a lot of different stuff to get there. And it takes a lot of different techniques. So as a manager, as a leading manager, you have a wonderful opportunity to help your team get there. So we've gone through a lot of different techniques in the last few videos, so I hope you guys learned quite a few different things. I'm going to do one more video just to kind of sum stuff up, but I wanted to kind of talk again about that team dynamics and team culture aspect. So